Hello and welcome. Today we're going to be taking a look at a whole bunch of new items. These are first impressions and I will revisit these items again on my channel later, but we're going to be looking at a couple of new items from Nars, like the primer and the new eyeshadow sticks, the new Patrick Ta highlighter, and we also have a couple of the new Lancome butter balms. I was really curious to see how these compare to the new lip balms that Lisa Eldridge released, since she is their creative director. So for both her brand and Lancome to come out with balms at the same time, I was pretty curious to see how similar they are to each other. So if you're curious about that too, stay tuned. Let's go ahead and get started. All right, so today we're going to do a get ready with me with some brand new makeup. We're doing first impressions today, but I will be updating you guys in a future video on all of these products. So we're going to start off with this Nars Light Reflecting Hydrating Primer. So let me bring you in a bit closer. All right, so right now on my skin, I have my skincare, and I actually used the Perricone MD Cold Plasma SPF 35 moisturizer today, so I don't have a separate sunscreen on. I do recommend it, but I'm going to be inside today. So this one here is going to be the Nars primer, and I don't know why. For some reason, this primer just really called to me. I don't know why I really wanted to try this so badly, because typically a primer, when a new primer releases, it's usually not that exciting, but this one really enticed me. So this is, the texture feels pretty, you know, it's thin, it's aqueous, but not as water-based as something that is going to dry right away. It's almost like a watery serum in texture, but a little bit thicker. You know, you've got like kind of like a watery gel serum. And I'm just going to put this all over. You know, I know you don't have to put primer everywhere, but I figure for today, let's go ahead and just put that on. You can see it definitely did give some glow. I don't really notice any blurring or anything. Let me know if you do, but let's go ahead and take a look at base products today. And those are not new, so let me get those out. All right, so I'm going to take the Valentino concealer. This is the shade LIGR2, and I'm going to go ahead and put this on. And then for foundation today, I'm just letting this sit for a second. I'm taking the Cle de Peau. This is the cushion foundation packaging, but I actually have a mix in here. So I ran out. I haven't purchased a refill yet, but I have a mix of the Cle de Peau Radiant Matte and Radiant Natural foundations. So these two. So I have a 50-50 mix of shade I-10 in the actual cushion, and that's kind of what I'm using today. So brushes for foundation, I'm going to use the Kyoto. This is the F04. It used to be the Fupa 03. And then for concealer, I'm going to take the soft concealer from Sonia G, and yeah, just go ahead and blend out the concealer first. So the concealer, this is one of my favorites. I've actually got a second tube of this, and you can see it's light to medium coverage, and it has a bit of a kind of like a dewy sheen to it without sparkle though. So I really love this. It's one of my favorite concealers. Doesn't provide tons of coverage, but it definitely adds brightening, and it really, you know, it looks pretty seamless on the skin. So for the foundation, I usually put on my blurring powder, but today, since we're testing the primer, we're not going to use that. For blurring powder, I like the Sisley Blur Expert in shade 0. So I'm gonna go ahead and apply the foundation. And then I also bought the new RMS setting powder, and so we're going to take a look at that, and we'll do just half of my face with the setting powder so we can kind of see how that does. Plus I bought the Patrick Ta highlighting duo, and I want to see how that does on a powder base versus on a dewier, more foundation base. So let me grab that. So this is the new RMS Hydra Setting Powder, and I purchased the shade Light. And we'll go over all the product details for everything after we, try everything on. So we do have a little puff here. It's a velour puff, sort of. It almost feels like a mix between French terry cloth and velour. So it's a little different. It's not your typical velour puff. And then we have this plastic lid. All right, so this just lifts off and you can see it is attached here. So it doesn't come off. And then we have RMS in here, and those are our holes for the powder to come through. So I'm just gonna kind of get a bunch of powder on my brush here. And I want something kind of large and loose and fluffy. So taking the Fude Bobo, this is the owl brush, and I love this brush. So let's go ahead, we'll do the right side. I'll bring you in a little bit closer. All right, so we're gonna just lightly put the powder on the right side. So let's see, what do you notice between the two sides? Powder, no powder. I have to say, it gives a really beautiful finish. Look at that. So I still have a little bit of that glowy sheen, but there's no like sparkle or anything in the powder. And yet it still has kind of like a matte finish to it as well. And it doesn't look dry on the skin. So I'm liking that so far. So I just put a little powder here so we can kind of look at it up close. And this is a powder. So since it's a Hydra powder, I was expecting to feel a little wet or a little moist. Sometimes those powders can feel a little cooling. This one doesn't. It really just feels like a regular powder to me. It feels very finely milled, but it definitely doesn't have any of sort of that moisture or cooling effect to it. One other thing I want to mention is if you are trying to decant some, it is a little bit harder. So this lid will press firmly down into it. So you can't like just tap like this and then get a little bit in there. Yet because this doesn't come off all the way, you kind of have to hold the lid to it. And I did that to tap some into the lid, but I did make a mess doing that. So just something to note about that. I think it's really cute how they have RMS there for it, but it doesn't add anything for me. And the lid being attached, although I like that functionality, my preferred method of application is to tap into a lid. So it does make that a little bit harder overall. So from a distance, we can see this side has powder and this side doesn't. Let me know what you guys think and if you have a preference. So we're gonna leave it this way just for the whole day. And let's move into the Patrick Ta highlighter. All right, so we have our typical Patrick Ta packaging. I picked up the shade Baby. And if you are familiar with his palettes, we have cream at the top, powder on the bottom, and there's a little plastic, flip lid to keep that product clean. And you can see just from where I've touched it that this is actually it's like a gel mousse. It's pretty soft. I mean, look at this when I'm just touching it. You can see how soft in texture this is. So let me go ahead and I'm gonna just do a few swatches here. I think sometimes the swatches up close can be a little bit more helpful. So let's go ahead. That's just our cream. Here is just the powder. And here's the cream. Here's the powder. And I'm going to put a little bit of cream on top of this powder here. And a little powder on top of this cream here. So cream, powder, then the two are mixed. Let me know which one is your favorite. Let's go ahead and try these on the cheeks. So I do want to try all four of the combinations, but I don't want to disturb the powder and how we're testing this on this side. So we're going to do everything just over here on my left cheek. And we're going to start off with just this cream product. Now, this is a little sticky. It's a tacky product. It does not fully set. I played with this a little bit. But yeah, it's not what I expected. It's not like the cream product in his blushes, which is going to be firmer. And I do feel like it moves a little bit of your base if you put the cream on first. Now, if we take the powder, let's put the powder on top. And I mean, I could use a brush, but there it is with just the powder on top of the cream. Let's go ahead. I mean, we're going to take this off anyway. So let's put the powder down here. I'm just going to grab a brush. So this is the Detail Pro from Sonia G. We're going to put the powder here. Just do a nice large swatch on my cheek. And then let's take this cream and we'll put this on top. So let me know what you think of this. So here at the top, we have our cream with powder on top. Then we have the powder with cream on top. I have to say, I do think the top is better. You can see, I think it emphasizes more texture, having the powder on first and then the cream on top. And it also seems to kind of, like some of the powder highlighter particles, they seem to sort of clump up with the cream on top, like they spread and move. And I just think that looks pretty distracting. So honestly though, I think I actually prefer these separate, but let me remove this and I'll add the foundation here again and we'll test them separately as well. All right, so this time I'm going to be taking the mini base brush from Sonia G and I'll dip this into the cream and let's see how this performs. I'm just gonna go ahead and put this on here. So here is just the cream. And I think it looks really nice. I do notice that it emphasizes some texture though. So is it a favorite? Not so far. But I'm going to remove this and we'll do just the powder. And then I'm going to take the Sonia G Detail Pro just in the powder here. And let's go ahead and try this. And there's just the powder. I have to say I do like just the powder on here. It's going to be more subtle, but is it anything special? Unfortunately, it's not. So I'm going to go ahead and add just the powder on this side as well. Yeah, I think instead of, I think I'll add a little bit of the cream, just kind of like right here, more on the apples, just a little glow. And I actually just barely dabbed it into the cream this time because I really don't want to emphasize too much texture or disturb the base. But I don't really like this cream product, so not loving that. So this is it from a distance, but yeah, I don't think I love that product. I almost bought 3 of them. I'm really glad I didn't. I think 1 is plenty. All right, another new product I picked up would be the new Nars. These are the Total Seduction eyeshadow sticks. And I picked up the shade Don't Touch, which was described, I forget, something like a minky pinky taupe kind of shade. And here that is on my hand. Sorry for my big watch, so let me take that off. I have to say this color does look very much like it did in the promo photos. So I think the color looks pretty accurate. Let's go ahead and try it on the eyes. So I'm going to test this with no primer today just to kind of see. I feel like a lot of times eyeshadow sticks are kind of, advertised as being something you can use as a base. You can see it definitely moves easily and it feels silky going on. For the other side, let me go ahead and I'm going to apply it with this, but then use the brush to move this one out. And this is the Rephr 02 Max. Usually with an eye crayon, I prefer kind of applying it with the stick and then using a brush to blend out the edges. So you can see where I use the brush is slightly lighter. All right, so no brush, yes brush. I like the color. Let's see how this wears during the day. I will definitely provide an update down below in the description box. I'm just gonna take a second, even these out so the eyes are the same level of color. All right, I'm just gonna go ahead and take the Patrick Ta powder highlighter with the Esom. This is the V31. And I'm just gonna add a little bit of this to the inner corner. Let me bring you in. Let me know if you really notice much of a difference though. So this side has it, this side doesn't yet. Definitely adds some brightening, but it doesn't really make that much of a difference in my opinion. Plus, I think this shade of pink, I think I would have preferred something maybe a little cooler in the corner of the eyes. It might be just a little pink. So I'm just gonna go ahead and take the YSL Sparkling Black and put this on here just a little bit in the lash line, add some mascara. I'll be right back. All right, so there are the eyes. I also added the Byredo brow pencil. I've been using this pretty much every day since I first reviewed it. So it's been, I don't know, 3 to 4 weeks. And this is how much is left. So I have to say, based off of this, I think it's probably gonna last about 4 to 5 months of use. And then they actually provide a refill with this. So you can get probably 9 months to a year out of one of these. So of course it's going to depend how much you use. I don't use a ton at once, but yeah, I think the Byredo brow pencil is actually a pretty, I think it's a pretty decent value for what you're getting then, especially since that refill's included. Now I haven't seen the refills available separately for sale yet, but hopefully I'll see that soon. It's nice to know though that they do provide the refill when you purchase the product. And I have to say, I haven't really looked for the refills, so they might be out there already and I just haven't looked. They just haven't popped up to me either. All right, so this is it so far. And then I picked up 2 of the new Lancome Butter Glow Balms and I wanted to test those out. So we're gonna do the lip swatches for those in just a second, but I wanted to show you how I'm just really not liking this Patrick Ta. So just kind of showing you how it looks. I feel like it's migrated a little bit lower than it was when I first put it on because I can feel it all the way down here and I'm pretty sure I did not hit that part, at least on this side. This side I can definitely feel it down lower, but I was thinking, okay, maybe I just messed up when I redid the foundation, but I feel like it has migrated because yeah, I feel the tackiness all the way to about here and I'm just not loving it. Now let's take a look at the lip swatches while we talk about just a few details. So these are the Lancome Lip Idole Squalane 12 Butter Glow Hydrating Lip Balms, and they retail for $32 US. There are a ton of different shades. And if you want to find all the shades, you want to go directly to like the Lancome website. These are also available so far at Sephora and Macy's, but they don't have the full selection of colors. So if you're looking for a particular color and you don't see it at one of those retailers, definitely check the Lancome website. And I have to say, I've already tested these. So I've been wearing these and I went to check out the formula and I think they're very comfortable. These feel, the closest thing would be a Chantecaille Lip Chic. That's what it feels like. Now, they do have a fragrance, and the fragrance, I'm not exactly sure what it is. It's an interesting fragrance. There's a slight taste when I lick my lips. You know how sometimes you taste something and it tastes like a little bitter. You know, that's what I taste. It's kind of similar to the same taste you get from the Lisa Eldridge lip balms, and Lisa Eldridge did design these for Lancome. She is their creative director for beauty. But the fragrance for these, it's kind of, you know, interesting because I can smell a little bit of like mint or menthol or something very faintly when I first apply it. But then I smell something fruity and then it kind of goes to a bakery scent. So overall, as it's sitting on my lips, I can smell it. It's not super strong, but it is subtle. It's kind of more of like a fruity muffin kind of scent. And that's what I smell. So I'm curious to know what other people smell because I know, you know, scents are such an individual thing. So I'm curious to know if that's what it smells like for other people or if that's just me, but it's interesting. Again, texturally, these feel a lot like the Chantecaille lip cheeks. So you have that thick, balmy texture to them. I find them to be really comfortable on the lips, and they last pretty much like the Chantecaille lip cheeks. I mean, this is kind of like a less expensive option. Now let's look at the lip swatches one more time. According to Lancome, this is a buttery, hydrating lip balm. It's supercharged with 12% squalane, providing instant shine, buildable color, and up to 24-hour hydration. The lightweight, non-sticky formula improves the look of vertical lip lines and lip smoothness after 7 days. Apply on the go anytime, anywhere. One layer for a sheer wash of color, more layers to build up intensity. And they are highlighting a few key ingredients such as shea butter, jojoba oil, and ceramides. We have 14 shades here in the US. Now overall, I have to say I do like the lip balms, but I don't love them mostly because of the fragrance. It's not a bad fragrance, but it just reminds me of being a teenager and buying all of that makeup that had more of that, like that type of fruity fragrance, or you know, kind of like a bakery vanilla kind of fragrance. This is definitely not like straight up vanilla like we get in a lot of other lip products. So, you know, it's not bad. It's just I'd prefer not to have the fragrance. So let's take a look at the packaging here. And you can see we have kind of this lucite clear lid. It is a click closure. We have Lancome at the top here. And we have our color numbers down here at the bottom. And this one here is 47. Motivation rather. So this one here is the lighter one of the two I picked up, and it's a pinky mauve. So you do have a little bit of a purpley mauve hue to it, but it's more pink than mauve. And then the other one I picked up is 66 mahogany mauve. And I really wanted to see what these two looked like because, you know, I love anything with more of a purpley hue. So you can see we kind of have that deep, cool brown with an eggplant purple mixed into it. So I really like both of the shades I picked up. And although I don't love the fragrance, it doesn't really bother me. So these are ones I'll definitely like just throw in my purse and be using on a regular basis because I think the colors are really great. So let's go through all of the product we use today and do some swatches, comparisons, and so forth. All right, let's start off with the Nars primer. It has a 2-year shelf life. We get 30 milliliters of product here, and it's made in the US. So this is a pump, and you can see this is our actual primer in the texture, and it's going to give a little bit of a glowy hue to it, but yet it's not shimmery or glittery. So it gives you a nice sheen, and I do think that it enhanced the glow on my face overall. And I think I like this. So I'm gonna wear this more. I'll have an update on this in a future video after I've been using it for a while, but I'd love to know if any of you have tried it and what your thoughts are. While we're talking about Nars, let's go ahead and just take a look at the Nars lip or eye pencil. And again, I have the shade Don't Touch. I've already swatched it here, and you can see that it firmly sets and it goes on. I'm just gonna make a new swatch here. You can see how smoothly it glides on. It feels silky. It almost has like a silicone texture to it, and it feels very thin and lightweight, very silky to blend out, and then it sets. So I have to say, I really, really like the formula. I do hope they expand their color line. A lot of the colors are pretty warm. So I would like to see some more colors and some fun colors, some shimmers and so forth. So yeah, I'm really impressed with this formula. Let's just do a couple of quick comparisons with some other pencils. All right, so we're just gonna take a look at a few pencils. This is the Victoria Beckham in Shroom. Now this is a shimmery shade. I'll go ahead and put this here. Now this one also feels very thin and silky to go on, but I do think that I don't know, it feels a little silkier in the Nars. It could be that it's newer, so maybe that's it, or it could be because of the shimmer in this particular shade, but I do feel like the Nars feels just a little more silicone in the formula, but yet it sets so well. And then I also wanted to take a look at Bobbi Brown. This is the shade Taupe. So this is going to be a matte shade. These are a little thicker going on. These have a creamier texture to them versus that thinner silky texture. These will also set, but this is more of your like quintessential eye crayon, whereas I feel like the Nars is just a little different. So this is the shade Taupe from Bobbi Brown. You can see it's going to be a little bit more of a yellow base in comparison to the Don't Touch. Then we also took a look at the RMS powder, and I will give an update on this in a future video. I want to use this for a bit, but so far I'm really liking how it went on to the skin, how it applied, and the finish that it gives. I'm not 100% a fan of the packaging, but you know, I'm going to give it some time. I have to say though, I do really like this. So I'll come up with some comparisons and stuff for this in a future video. So if you have any requests, please leave them down below in the comments, and we'll definitely take a look at some other powders that are perhaps similar. Now as for the Patrick Ta, I don't really like it. You know, the more I think about it and the more I look at my face, I don't love this particular product, and it's not what I was expecting with the texture, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. However, I just don't think I don't love the cream. I think it's a little bit too soft, too wet. And then the powder, you know, it's just okay. I don't notice anything particularly special or unique about the powder. So I would actually just pass on that personally and go with something else. Like I don't even want to compare that. I don't really like it. And then last up, I want to take a look at, this is the Lisa Eldridge Balm Embrace. This is the shade Epanouie, which is her pink shade. She doesn't really have any like true cool shades in her line, but since she designed these and the Lancome, I wanted to kind of put those together so you could kind of see. Now the Lancome, they have a thicker clear gloss texture to them than the Lisa Eldridge. So the Lisa Eldridge isn't quite as high shine as the Lancome. Now, when you actually wear these on the lips, I have to say, I get a little bit more wear with the Lancome than the Lisa Eldridge. This fades just a little bit faster. It's also a thinner product on the lips. So this has a thinner texture compared to the Lancome, which is gonna be a little bit thicker. Again, a little bit of a glossier texture on there. They both have a fragrance and a little bit of a taste if you like your lips, but they're not going to be the same fragrance. However, it does kind of smell like the Lisa Eldridge Balm Embrace. There's definitely something similar in the fragrance between the two. So the Lancome, you get more of that like buttery vanilla pastry kind of fragrance from it. But remember I was saying that first I smelled a little mint and then a little bit of kind of like a fruity, almost like a fruity floral type fragrance. That smells more similarly to this, but then it switches over to that like bakery scent. So, you know, there's definitely a similarity in the fragrances there. But I do have to say that I don't notice the fragrance in the Lisa Eldridge as long as I do the Lancome. With the Lancome, I can still notice it. It's subtle, it's light, it's not a heavy fragrance, but it does kind of hang around. So I can smell it still on my lips, you know, a good 30 minutes, 45 minutes later, if I make an effort to smell it. So I hope that was helpful, just a few quick comparisons. And again, I'll definitely have updates on all of these items. You know, the powder and the primer I'll definitely have in another video, and the other items I'll definitely feature in my end of the year review, or end of the month review, the June review. And I know a lot of you have requested a mid-year favorites that is coming up. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope this was helpful. Let me know if you've tried any of these items and what your thoughts are. And you know, I'd love to know what you thought of all of these products on my skin. Has this really migrated, or is it in my head? So thank you so much for tuning in, and I hope you have a wonderful day.